A hearty good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for being here today for this special meeting on Thursday, July 22nd. It's a true honor to be here with all of you, and certainly appreciate having all these good people appear in person, as well as all the good people of Sioux Falls that are watching on Channel 16. And also, I wanted to truly thank the City Council for joining me on this big day for our great city. Wanted to start, of course, with an invocation. I am very, very pleased to recognize Pastor Julius Badigo. Pastor Julius is the pastor at Falls Community Church, but he's also been newly recognized as the head of the Sudanese community here in Sioux Falls, which is now 2,300 strong. And Pastor, would you please give a blessing upon all of us in this great city?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, let's stand.
Thank you.
Okay. Our precious God, I want to thank you for the day and for the new life you gave unto us. May you continue adding new days for us. I want to pray for the newly elected Mayor, Mike Huter, and his cabinet. May you give them wisdom and understanding so that they can bring change into this beautiful city of Sioux Falls. May you continue to bless them in whatever they do for the great city of Sioux Falls and the newly refugees and immigrants in this city of Sioux Falls. I want to pray special for the budget of the new administration. May you prosper them. According to the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, your plan will succeed." And also I want to remember and roast D. Curtin, who passed today. May his soul rest in perfect peace. God answer this prayer. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you.
Would you also please, we'll give the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. I am truly, again, humbled and honored to be in front of the City Council today, as well as in front of the 157,000 good people of Sioux Falls, in the spirit of trying to give them an idea of this 2011 budget that me and my team have prepared for all of you, and we'll go through that today. I wanted to start with, when we started this process, I was reading a magazine called American City and County, and within it there was a quote that I thought was intriguing, to say the least. "The current budget crisis provides a perfect time to reform government budget systems and fundamentally reform government." Also within that, there was one sentence that I thought was certainly sound, and that was, "How do we maximize the value of tax dollars spent?" When we started this budget process, which seems like years ago, but actually it was only about 72 days ago, we had some short-term goals. And they were to make city government more efficient, more accountable, more productive, and yes, more service-friendly. We felt that it was important that we owe it to the citizens of Sioux Falls to be as fiscally responsible as we could possibly be, especially at a time when families were tightening their belts and businesses were tightening their belts. We felt that at least the city of Sioux Falls and our government should be able to do the same thing. Also, it was very, very important for me to build an even higher level of trust in city government. And the spirit is that if we can build confidence and trust in these good people of Sioux Falls today, maybe they would allow us to go back at a later time and garner support for other worthy investments that will make Sioux Falls proud for many, many generations to come. And then, yes, as you folks know, I do bring 25 years of business background to city government, and I wanted to try to bring some of that business acumen into the process. And I believe that we certainly did that. What was the process? You know, there's so much made of this budgetary process. You know, let me simplify it for you. Here's kind of what happened. 12 very good department heads came to me along with the finance team, and they presented their 2011 budget recommendations. We did a very, very comprehensive review of each budget. And in fact, we went through them line item by line item, and in some cases, yes, I actually had them defend some of the decisions that they made. Then, after we were done with that, we went back and asked them to find even more opportunities. We challenged them to find other ways that they could make their budgets even tighter, more efficient, more accountable. Maybe even find if there were ways to strengthen their organizations, and they did just that. And then when they came back, we may have implemented some of those, or we may have just said, no, you know what, we're not ready for those at this time. Also, there was a part in the process that I thought was important, and that is, and we'll talk about this later, we have 30 different organizations in town that receive subsidies from the City of Sioux Falls, the city government of Sioux Falls. I asked the department heads that are the liaisons with those different organizations to go back and help define the program, identify its value to the City of Sioux Falls, and, of course, their funding needs. And then, last but not least, I asked these 12 department heads to do something for me. And that was to help bring back or share this message of this process back to the 1,100 city employees. And I want to share a very, very brief story with you, and it'll be brief. I have a brother-in-law in town who works here at a local company, and he had two men come into his business, and they needed to buy something, what happened to be for city government. And they were talking, and said, yes, we can provide that for you. And one of the men of city government said, we need the Mayor Huther special. And my brother-in-law said, sir, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, as you know, times are tight, so we want to try to get the best deal that we can. And I think that's just, it's a simple story, it's a short story, but it's one that we are trying to take this culture and have them be as accountable as the people of Sioux Falls want them to be. And, you know, we're not going to go out there and try to find coupons. We're probably not going to do that. But we are going to go out there and try to maximize the taxpayer dollar as much as we can. And I'm proud to say I think we're making progress. What were the initial findings? Well, I'll tell you, these department heads, they know their numbers. They do. They do. And that should give comfort to the good people of Sioux Falls. I'll tell you, these 1,100 people that work in city government, they are very, very passionate about providing quality service to the citizens of our great city. There was a quote made by one of the department heads. I'm not going to point him out, but he said, Mike, what we do is we spend the dollars on operations, capital, and people based on the wishes of Sioux Falls residents. That's what they believe they're tasked to do, and they do it well. And we'll tell you about that. Now, these folks had to scrutinize their departments way before I came into the mayor's office. They did. Mayor Munson, along with the city council, along with the people of Sioux Falls, realized that we had to scrutinize even more because of challenging economic conditions. They did that. And you've all heard about these holdbacks that they implemented. Well, they did that in the spirit of trying to be as prudent as they can during these tough economic times. Tough decisions were made. They'll continue to be made. And one of the good news stories that has come out of this over the last year, and we believe will continue into the future, is that we are taking advantage of some very, very competitive bidding opportunities right now. I'll tell you, businesses are hungry. They are. And they are providing us some deals that we're taking full advantage of. Tell you, good people make up city government. We have 1,100 people that help try to keep the city running and humming at a pace that you cannot believe. You need to be aware, though, that 70% of this operating and budget, it involves these 1,100 people. It does. At first glance, you go, boy, that's a huge number, and it is. It's a big number, but that's something that all of the people of Sioux Falls need to understand. When it comes to wages and benefits, that makes up a big percentage of what we do in city government. We are expecting some of these people will leave city government. About 4 to 6% of them will leave over the next year. And one of the challenges that we will continually face is how do we take these great men and women and make them even more productive? And I wanted to let all of you know, and the people of Sioux Falls know, that when I became mayor, one of the very first things that I implemented was that before someone was hired into city government, before someone was promoted to a different position into city government, I wanted to approve that first. Again, the biggest percentage of the expenses comes with these FTE and these people and these good employees. I wanted to make sure, like we did in business, that during these challenging economic times that we scrutinize these at the highest level possible. And we've been doing that. And yes, we've been challenging these department heads at a much higher level. You know, one of the things that I talked about in my campaign, and I continued to talk about after I became mayor, was that, you know what, if we wouldn't do it at home, or we wouldn't do it in our own business, you know what, the people of Sioux Falls probably don't want us doing it in city government either. And we found some things that I think the people of Sioux Falls are probably curious about. Do we need one printer for every 3 employees? Probably not. Do we need one cell phone for every 2 employees? Probably not. You know, we have a department that is responsible for managing the facilities of our great city government. But we have some departments that are managing it on their own versus letting this department that should be doing it, we should be consolidating that department. It just doesn't make sense. We have 10 out of 12 departments that are involved in code enforcement in this town. Again, we had this city council had an audit committee report that came out of it that said, you know what, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that city council audit department report was right. There is a better way to do it, and we're going to tackle that. And then, again, we learned a lot of things, but I tell you, remember I talked about we've got 30 different organizations that receive money, millions and millions of dollars of city government, but yet we didn't have them even fill out a form to get that money. Didn't seem right, and we're going to change it. You know, one thing I've learned since I've become the mayor, and these 12 department heads already knew it, is that scrutiny comes with this job. Does it ever? You know, department heads and the mayor, we own these numbers. We need to take responsibility for what we're doing. And I will tell you, I know this for a fact. The people of Sioux Falls are paying attention. And they're watching us. And they've earned that right. You know, I tell you, I've talked about this. I want to build a powerhouse organization to make us even more efficient and productive. I do. It's what I learned over the last 25 years in business, and I want to try to do the exact same thing here in city government. We've already talked about some of this, but, you know, for example, in our finance, I'm going to talk about a $300 million budget today. And we are using financial management software that is easily over 20 years old. We can do better. You already know about some of the department head changes that I've made and how we're going to strengthen those departments, whether they be in our legal department, community development, public parking, central services, public health. These new men and women that are the department heads of these departments, they are going to strengthen those areas like you can't imagine, and they're already working on it, and I'm excited about it. I tell you, Sioux Falls, we hear you, and we've been hearing you at least over the last 60 days, but we heard you even before. I tell you, we need to strengthen planning and building services, and you heard about something that I just recommended last week in terms of moving Kevin Smith into the planning and building services department. You know, people are talking about code enforcement, zoning and rezoning, public transportation and paratransit. We need to improve the service levels of these organizations. We need to hold contracted services more accountable. I mean, just last week we talked about the convention center and some of the issues that the audit report came out there. And we need to move the city forward. You know, one of the things that we learned was that it's been 27 years since we have taken the time to really revamp our rezoning and zoning process here in town. 27 years. We need to pay more attention, and these good men and women of city government are doing that, and they're going to do it at an even higher level. Another thing that we've heard is that, hey, don't forget about the heart of Sioux Falls. Please, don't do that. Next week, I'm going to talk about some other changes that I'm going to recommend that will help strengthen our community development and public parking areas. And we need to do that. When it comes to community redevelopment, economic development, downtown parking and the infrastructure of our downtown, and then taking care of the inner core neighborhoods, these areas that made us strong in the first place and made us great in the first place, we need to pay more attention to them. Whether that be the Cathedral area, Pettigrew Heights, Terrace Park, whatever that area would be, we need to pay attention and take heed of some of the issues that are occurring in some of those areas. You know, folks, I want downtown to be the place to be. You know, I love the Sioux Empire Mall, I do. But ultimately, I don't want that to be the destination point of Sioux Falls. I'd like it to be downtown. I'd like it to be the place to be. Not only the place for fun, for entertainment, for dining, but also the place to shop, the place to work, and yes, the place to live. CNA Surety made a conscious decision a week ago or a week and a half ago to remain downtown. Thank goodness they did. And thank goodness we got those other core tenants downtown like Wells Fargo, First National, that are downtown, keeping our downtown vibrant. But, I'll tell you, one of the things that we're going to work on here over the next year, and you're going to be hearing more about it, is that there's even better things to come, Sioux Falls. Let's have some fun. This will be an interesting slide for all of you. I'll tell you, folks, there's a critical investment that I believe that this city needs to make that'll make us proud for generations to come. I'm going to talk about some things here in the near future where I'm going to talk about sales tax projections. And they're going to be conservative projections. However, I actually hope that these sales tax revenue projections that I've presented here are wrong. I hope they're too low. I hope that we have sales tax numbers that blow these numbers away, because what I'd love to do is begin to sock some funds away if these revenues are better than planned. And what would I sock them away for? I'd put them in our cookie jar. I'd start to save for a down payment on a new event center for Sioux Falls. You know, we just went through a long, drawn-out campaign, and there was even talk about, well, you know what, before you build an event center, you need to save all the money before you do it. I don't agree with that. I don't. But I do like the idea of a down payment. You know, when we buy a house as a family, we put a down payment down. We do. And I think it's a good idea to put a down payment for our new event center. And I believe that the right thing to do will begin to put away money for that down payment. You know, there's some really good news coming, Sioux Falls. We've got these entertainment tax bonds that will be fully repaid in 2014 that we were using to pay for some other venues in town, like the Washington Pavilion and our convention center. They're going to be fully repaid in 2014. There are private investors in the city that want to partner with the city to help us capture this opportunity called this new event center, and I look forward to beginning to work with them, along with the City Council working with us as well. And remember what I just talked about. This is a very, very competitive bidding environment. And also, I'll tell you, there are low interest rates right now that we can fully take advantage, as well as some bonding opportunities that may not come for many more years. And so let's take advantage of them. And yes, I'll say it now and I'll say it again. I believe very, very strongly that we can have our new event center built by March of 2014. I said built. The grand opening, March of 2014. One of the things that we talked about when we were going through the budget was that, you know, what are some of the challenges that we face today and what are some of the challenges that we are going to face tomorrow? There was another quote within that American City and County magazine, and it asked some very, very important questions, such as, you know, what are the essential services in government that we must deliver? What does government want to accomplish? What is the most effective way to achieve government's goals with the money available? And is a service or a program a core function of government? I have only been mayor for about 60 days. And I had the opportunity to review these 30 different organizations that are receiving subsidies from city government today. And Mayor Munson and department heads and all of you have spent a lot of time over the years evaluating these organizations as well. You know, I could have cut them this year, or we could have cut them or put together a recommendation to cut them. I thought the right thing to do was to at least give them even a little bit more warning that departments or organizations, as much as we love the things you're doing, you have to realize that at some point in time, we have to make tough choices. And the one thing that we can do is begin to cut vital government services in the spirit of keeping these organizations going. I wanted to at least let them know that by 2012, they're going to have to at least begin to look elsewhere for money. They can't rely solely on the city to get these funds. In 2012, cuts will be made. So prepare now. There is a topic that has been just hot all over our country. And I wanted to give the people of Sioux Falls a little comfort, but I also wanted to let the people of Sioux Falls know that, you know what, this is probably a topic that we should discuss. You know, when we talk about pension systems all over the country, usually the conversation is not a good one. Whether other cities, other states are really battling what is going on with their pension systems. I will let the people of Sioux Falls know that our pension system in city government is very, very solid, very, very solid. We always are able to make our annual required contributions. We use reasonable actuarial assumptions to help us plan accordingly. And our city pension funds are very, very well funded. But it is time that we talk about this topic. It is. And I look forward to working with the City Council, working with the Pension Board, and working with the 1,100 solid working employees of this government to begin that discussion. I wanted to add a little levity before I got into the numbers. Yes, snow gates will be tested, Sioux Falls. You know, one of the things that I've learned is that, boy, this is an interesting process. Every citizen in Sioux Falls has a different priority for things. And I've learned that. And it's probably what makes this job so hard, is that as much as you want to please everybody, you can't. As much as you want to help everybody, you can't. And as much as you want to make sure that everybody's priority is recognized at the highest level possible. You just can't. We are going to test snow gates, so I made those people happy. But the 12 department heads, this mayor, and this city council, when we're all done, and Councilor Anderson Jr., you know this, Councilor Jameson, you know this, Councilor Brown, you know this, when we're all done with this, there are going to be some people that are going to be upset at us because we didn't prioritize their need at the level that they believed was important enough. We're going to find that balance. We will. We will, and these numbers that I'm about to show you will show you how we're going to provide that balance and test snow gates and do a lot of other good things for this great city. You know, let's talk about the numbers now. You know, where are we? Where are we, Sioux Falls? Let's start with 2010. You know, if we assume 0% sales tax growth, is which we are assuming, we're going to estimate ending the year at about $39 million, or 33% in unreserved fund balances in our primary operating account. Sioux Falls, that is fantastic. Our goal is 25%, and we're exceeding that. I told you, these department heads and these 1,100 city employees, they've already had to be prudent in the dollars that they're spending. And what you're going to find is that by year end, we are going to use some reserve, some reserve spending, or some reserves. We are going to use that, but we're still going to have, again, that $39 million by the time this year's up in that reserve. That's a really good thing, Sioux Falls. Let's talk about 2011 now and this plan. People need to know where the money comes from. Well, the vast majority of it comes from two sources, and that is sales and it's property taxes. What we did is we are planning on, again, no inflationary adjustment to the property tax, minimal growth in the property tax base, and what you're going to see there is that in 10, we projected revenues of about $113 million, and in 11, we're projecting revenues of about $114 million. So it's basically flat when it comes to the property tax dollars. Okay? Let's go to that. When you compare it to other years, again, we realize that that construction is not at the level that it has been in the past, and you can see that with some of the numbers here. We are going to have a slight increase in property tax revenue, but it's going to be slight to say the least. About 2.6% growth. The other big one is called sales taxes. We use some very, very conservative estimates when we put together this plan. 0% year-over-year growth from 10 to 11. And same thing, then when we got into 2012, where we're looking at 2% growth, and then we're planning on 5% year-over-year growth in 13, 14, and 15. Again, very, very conservative numbers. It shows you the sales tax dollars that we're projecting to come in. They're not growing in leaps and bounds, but they are coming in. We got the money coming in. Now, how are we going to spend it? What we're recommending, again, always in the focus of maximizing the tax dollars that are spent, is the following. When it comes to the general fund, I wanted to show you two different things. Number one, I wanted to compare what I'm recommending that we spend in 2011 to the 2010 original budget. That was the budget that was presented almost a year ago today. What you're going to see is I'm recommending that we spend $5 million less, or about 4% less, in the general fund than what was presented a year ago. But, as the City Council has asked me to do, and as I told them I would do, I also wanted to compare that to the holdback budget, because in our mind, that's a much more appropriate thing to look at because of the good work that the department heads did in terms of already finding some savings in the budget. When you compare it to the holdback budget, and this is an estimate, we're basically flat to plan. we're going to spend about as much next year as we're going to spend this year. And it's basically flat. Now, the general fund budget history. We're actually going to spend less in the general fund than the year before. And you can see that in terms of spending $117.7 million in the 11 budget versus the $122.9 that was presented a year ago. But we're actually going to spend even less than what was recommended in 2009. This hasn't been done for 15 years. I told the people of Sioux Falls that I was going to be fiscally responsible with their money, and I was going to work with the department heads to be as fiscally responsible with their money as I could, and still provide great service, great value, great benefits, great infrastructure. We will do all that and spend less money doing it. And we will. And that's what I presented with the good help of my finance team and these department heads. I heard the message, Sioux Falls. It was loud and clear. I think we followed through. 2011. Where are we going to spend this money? Well, we're going to protect the people of Sioux Falls with fire and police with about $49 million. We're going to give them the basic infrastructure like streets, parks and rec, with another $30 million there, general government, public health, planning and community development, our library system, and, of course, transit. When you add it all up, it's about $120 million. I wanted the people of Sioux Falls to kind of get a flavor for where their money is spent. And with the pie chart up above, I think it gives you a flavor for that. Again, it comes down to people, though, again. 70% of all the dollars that we spend in this general fund is people, about $81 million. There are some things that we're going to be dealing with in 11, such as, even though we have our fire contract in place for 11, there are two other incredibly important groups in Sioux Falls that help us make this city government hum, and that includes the ASME employees and our police, and we will be working with them to negotiate their contracts as well. And we are planning on no additional FTE in 11. No additional people in city government in 11. Another message. We can make this government hum at a level without spending more money doing it and without increasing the FTEs. We can do it, and we will. And that is why I presented the budget that I have today. And remember, I said that one of the processes will include having me approve any new hire or any promotion that takes place in not only the remainder of 10, but also in 11 as well. Again, we're going to scrutinize this as much as we possibly can in the spirit of trying to find efficiencies, make things more accountable, more productive, and yes, more efficient. When you compare, again, the numbers, I wanted to kind of give you a flavor of what we've presented to all of you. We are going to reduce the size of the budget, 4% lower than the 2010 holdback budget, and I think you can see by the graph up above, when you compare it to the original, you break it out in terms of the personnel lines, the other operating expenses, and then transfers that happen within government. You're going to find that we're basically flat to where we are in terms of 2010. We've got a slight increase in some of the personnel expenses, but I think you're going to find that these people work really hard to even control that as best they could. And you can see that they've actually lowered the other operating expenses in city government in the spirit of keeping our numbers flat to where they were in 2010. People of Sioux Falls, you've all read the headlines. You've all got depressed when you're watching TV listening to it on the radio about this city and that city, this state and that state, the federal government and how they're spending more than what they bring in and how debt is out of control. You know, we could talk about Corpus Christi and San Carlos and Oakland and Denver, and certainly we can talk about Detroit, Michigan all day long and all the issues that they face and the problems that they are having. Let's talk about Sioux Falls. We remain strong. We remain strong, and we will continue to be strong in this city. Mayor Munson and the city council and these department heads, they left me with a strong city government. They did. And we're going to continue to be strong. People of Sioux Falls can sleep good at night knowing that we're in good shape. They can. We are a fiscally strong city even in these economically challenging times. We are. We use conservative revenue estimates, and we're projecting again that we're going to have reserve levels over 30% in 2011. That's a good sign, Sioux Falls. We are going to use some of the reserve dollars, we are, to keep the city going, but we're still going to remain far above the 25% level that has been recommended. And I wanted you also to know that when you look out the next 10 years, we'll continue to remain above that 25% reserve level. So I wanted to give you some comfort that we didn't just look out a year or 2 years. We looked out 10 years, trying to find out, okay, what is the city going to look like in the years to come? And what I'll tell you, City Council, what I'll tell the people of Sioux Falls, is that we will remain financially very, very strong for at least the next 10 years, and I'm certain after that as well. I don't want to bore you with this, but again, I wanted to bring a confidence level to all of you, City Council and members, as well as to the people of Sioux Falls. One thing that we do well here is we manage our debt very, very wisely. We do. You know, I heard from people on the campaign all of the horror stories about, oh, we just overspend and we're so deep in debt and we've got to get control of it. Again, those are good people, but they're wrong. They're wrong. We manage our debt in this city extremely well. We really do. Moody's gives us a AA2 rating when it comes to managing our debt. It's called a solid debt service coverage. That's great. And when we do utilize debt, we use it for things that we truly, truly need, such as Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, storm drainage improvements, and thank goodness for that, Sioux Falls. 2.5 inches of rain last night, maybe 4 inches of rain, depending on where you were at. And yes, a couple people got their cars stuck trying to get home, but as a whole, the investment we made in the city when it came to the infrastructure of storm drainage improvements were well worth it. I think we proved that last night. And we can thank the past mayors and the past city council and the past department heads for making that critical investment. Our debt service is one of the strongest in the entire United States. I didn't say one of the strongest in South Dakota, one of the strongest in the entire United States. We have no general obligation debt, which is unheard of in most cities. And remember, I said this, folks, in 2014, we will fully pay off the Washington Pavilion and the Convention Center. So guess what? We're going to be even stronger at that time. And that's going to become important at some point in time when this city council and this mayor comes back to you, Sioux Falls, and wants to talk about things like a potential new event center for the city. Capital program, and I'm going to be brief on this because we've already talked about it. But again, not only were we conservative on the operating side, but as you folks know, we were also very conservative on the capital side. When you compare the plan year over year in terms of what was presented in terms of 5-year plan last year in our 5-year plan. This year, we're going to spend about $85 million less, and it's about an 18% drop. When you compare the 2011 plan that was presented last year with the 2011 plan that was presented this year, it's about $15 million less. Last year, we talked about spending $77 million in 2011. What I'm recommending or what I'm proposing is $61 million, or again, about 20% less. I'm trying to be fiscally responsible, Sioux Falls. I am. I'm challenging this city and these department heads to be as prudent as they possibly can and still provide great service. And guess what? They've done that and more. And they started the process way before I became mayor. And they should be commended for it. Now, as a whole, where are we at? Seems like an overwhelming number, and it is. It's over $300 million. $307 million will be spent in 2011, with your approval, of course, City Council, to provide the services and infrastructure that the residents of Sioux Falls want and what they need. Again, when you compare it to what was originally planned in 10 to 11, you're going to see, again, it's about $30 million less. It is more fiscally conservative. It is more cautious. I believe it's very, very prudent. And again, we're going to save $30 million in terms of taxpayer dollars with this plan. And I think it's the right thing to do. Let me summarize this, because I've talked long enough. And then I'm going to let the City Council go do their job, and that is scrutinize these numbers even more so that it benefits the people that they represent so well. Let's summarize this, Sioux Falls. Number one, general fund dollars that I'm recommending that we spend are basically flat or even to what we're spending in 2010. So basically no change. What we spend this year, we're going to spend the same amount next year. Other operating expenses are actually lower. They are. And I don't know if that's something to celebrate or not, but it is something that I believe is important. During challenging economic times and when you're trying to bring an even higher sense of accountability, when you're in business or when you're in your family, there's times where you really, really test yourself as much as you can. And I think it's time for city government to test itself at a level that makes them even challenged even at an even higher level, and that's what we did. We did that with the operating expenses, and I believe, I'm very, very confident that we're going to be just fine. We talked about this a little bit, and I think it's just, again, a message that I'd like all of Sioux Falls to know. The general fund unreserved balance shows unbelievable strength. It really does. And that's just so important for everybody to know. We are not Detroit, Sioux Falls. We are not. We are not Los Angeles, California, Sioux Falls. We are not. We are not Phoenix, Arizona, Sioux Falls. We're not. This city government runs well. It has been running well for years, and with God willing, over the next 4 years, I'm going to try to continue that same progress and that same process and that same spirit of making sure that this city government hums. Personnel and payroll expenses, they are large, they are. And it's going to provide us with the biggest challenge in the years to come. It is. Some of the challenge that these other cities have faced has been that they've just failed to even address some of those challenges when it comes to some of those personnel expenses that happen. And I got to tell you, these 1,100 employees have welcomed me with open arms, and I'm very, very grateful for it. I've gained a true appreciation for the work that they've done. But at the same time, I also need to make them aware that we do have to at least look at some of these things, as difficult as they are. Councilor Jameson and Councilor Aguilar and I were together a week and a half ago, I can't remember what it was, And we looked each other in the eye and said, you know what? Even though this is going to be a tough topic, it is something that we are going to have to discuss and work together on. And I look forward to working with Councilor Jameson, Councilor Aguilar, the rest of the City Council on topics such as these. You know, there's been a lot made in the press about this new mayor, my style, and how are people responding. You know, I'm not going to speak for all 1,100 of them, but I got to tell you, I'm dang proud of them. They've responded very well. I mean, they really have, and they should get some credit for it. They really should. You know, taking someone with 25 years of business experience and coming in to an environment where I go at a pretty fast pace, I do things differently, I challenge the status quo, and yes, I even stir things up a little bit, can be a little unnerving at times. These 12 department heads, this city finance team, and these 1,100 employees have responded well, and I thank them all for it. And last but not least, I tell you, some challenges, though difficult, just like the opportunities, though sometimes overwhelming, they must be addressed before it's too late. And I look forward to it. That's why I guess I was hired to this job. That's why these 8 men and women of the City Council were hired to do this job, is not to put our head in the sands when we have to deal with tough times or tough issues or challenging opportunities. It's to raise ourselves up to a higher level so that we can accomplish even better things for this great city, and together we will do that. Sioux Falls, there's great things to come. Working with all of you, we can accomplish it. We are on solid ground, and our potential is unlimited. Thanks, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much. Adjourned. Thank you, everybody.